questions. Hi, Dr. Reddy.
Uh, Hi, Prenisha. Good to good to be on the show again.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, how are you?
Doing good, doing good. I forgot to wish everybody for Women's Day, so I said let me just wish everybody for a good Women's Day. Did you enjoy your day, Dr. Reddy?
Yes, yes, yes. We had an excellent day, and I attended a women's workshop presentation today on on oral dental health. It was all women presenting. It was tremendous.
Wow, I love that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
thank you for taking the time to be here. So, we have a very interesting topic today, quite a broad topic. We are talking about palmistry, numerology, and astrology. So, if you could kindly tell us, Dr. Reddy, what each of those mean. So, what is palmistry?
I was giving some thought and reflection today. I said it's quite a broad section, but let's try to encapsulate it and let's take each one separately and then we can integrate it as we go along. I think
Sure.
that, the science of palmistry is a very ancient, aspect that has been in the ancient tradition of India and in Greece, and it's become now fashionable, popular almost throughout the whole world. And
Mhm.
it's about people looking at determining the faith, and in terms of how they look at themselves, personality, and the people read the palms and look at the shapes and the lines, and I think it just gives people some insight into their lives. So,
Mm.
and it's becoming a thing now of transcending all oceans and all continents, and I think people are all over the world, including Africa and South Africa, looking at palms and palmistry. And in
Mm.
palmistry, there's five critical lines in palmistry. What we call, is your lifeline, and then
Mhm.
you got your heart line, then you got
Mhm.
so-called your money line, which relates to your career and fortune, and then you got
Mhm.
your headline, your intelligence and mentality, and the last thing is about your relationship line, which is sometimes figured out as a marriage line. Those are the five principal aspect of how to get some understanding, and how can we and understand that in terms of understanding the palm. But I think the most
Mhm.
important thing, I think, Pranisha, is that how can we make this relevant to life. I think that's what's, I think people want some meanings to it, and say that, I got these lifelines, and I've got this money lines and emotion line. I mean, what does it mean to you? I think that's what people are looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. What about numerology? Is it the same as palmistry?
No, numerology is quite fascinating. Numerology is a science that related to astrology, and because
Mm-hmm.
the numbers, and when you're born on a certain date, and I will discuss it in detail, and in terms of how numbers affect you and why numbers play important part, and numbers relate to your
Mm-hmm.
birthday. If you're born on 1st of or the 9th of August, for example. So you got
Mm-hmm.
your day, you got your month, and you got your year. But the critical
Yeah.
part of numerology is that the first part, I think, to make it simple, is very important on your birthdays. And that birth numbers is related to astrology.
Mm.
So the astrology is about the science of understanding the planets. I mean, how the planets influence you in your life, and how
Mm.
the science of numerology is related to each planet, because each planet's got a number,
Okay.
right? And so that
Yeah.
number tends to affect you in terms of understanding yourself. So
Mm.
think is critical. I think so. The numerology is about just the numbers, but how the numbers affects the personality, and how the
Mm.
personality related to the signs of the different planets and when you were born, and how that planets affect you in your mind, body, soul. And I
Mm.
think that's interesting to know that each of these help you to meander your journey in this
Mm.
life, and the most important, it gives you confidence to know that, what, and um, the soul basically chooses the date of birth,
Mm.
right. If Prenisha is born on the 9th of August, Prenisha's soul has chosen the 9th of August. So that
Mm.
number 9 is related to the planetarian influences, and how do we manage that influence on a planet? Are we bound by it, or can we transcend it? And that's the interesting discussion we'll have tonight.
Yes. So, you did touch a bit on why we should take interest in our, lines on our hands, or, the planets around us. Can we go a bit deeper into why we should take interest in them? Because a lot of people are like, okay, I'm here on Earth. How is a planet a billion miles away affecting me? How is like Saturn making me moody? Things like this.
Yeah, shall we take the palmistry aspect first, Pranisha? Are you okay with that?
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. The first line, right? That's the line that's closest to your small little finger, right? Right. The small little line, and that's a line of what you call relationships. And that's a line, the emotional line. And whereby you get an emotional relationship at some point in time. And the next
Mm-hmm.
line that goes across from your four fingers, just across the last part of the finger goes down, and that's your heart line, your emotional line in relation to your the love line or the heart within yourself. Then the
Mm-hmm.
next line is the headline, which is related to your intellect and the power of
Mm-hmm.
discrimination, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
the last line is the lifeline. But in between the line, that middle of your fourth finger and your palm,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the headline, and that headline and the lifeline is bisected by what you call is a line that goes into your third finger called the money line or the line of fate, right?
Yeah.
So I think this, so, but all these lines that you've got
Mm-hmm.
here. So let's say now that you're born on the first, or you're born on the 1st of August, 2000, for example, right? And
Mm-hmm.
do these lines remain static, or they in a dynamic state? Right? So when the soul is born, each of
Yes.
these, you come with these birth lines on your palm, right, at
Mm-hmm.
that point of birth. But as a soul takes effect on and impregnated into this world, and these
Mm-hmm.
lines tend to change, right? Let's
Mm-hmm.
understand, for example, why do they change? I think that's, I think it's important to understand that, and the reason behind the changing. So you have a mind, and you have a body, and you have an intellect. So the intellect
Mm-hmm.
gives you the power of discrimination to do what is right and what is perhaps not so right, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
basically to try to put you on the right track. But
Mm-hmm.
the world is such that we tempted with what, with the emotional aspect of life, and caught up in the world. And sometimes, at work, we make compromised decisions, and
Mm-hmm.
whether it's the emotional line in terms of the heart line, or in terms of the financial decisions that you make, or your relation to your headline, the discrimination, and relation to your life pathway. So each of these lines in every relationship has an effect on the extrapolation and the indentation on the palm of each line. I just want to give you
Mm-hmm.
an example, right? Now,
Sure.
let's say, for example, that if you do have a clear thought process, right,
Mm-hmm.
of clarity of mind in thought, word,
Mm-hmm.
and deed, unity, purity, and harmony, right? That means
Mm-hmm.
that what's your thoughts, the way you think, and what you feel, and what you say, and what you do must be in harmony together. If it's not in harmony together, that headline tends to not grow in terms of its growth factor. But
Mm-hmm.
when it doesn't grow, it affects the lifeline, right? So your
Mm-hmm.
lifeline is affected when you are totally in peace with yourself. That means you are what we call in the space of right conduct and speaking the absolutely truth. So when you're at peace with yourself, that means when you love yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and you love society, you love your environment, in totality, and that line, your lifeline, always increases. That's a reason that people who always are in contentment, are in happiness, with humility, reverence, and respect, and in a
Mm,
prayerful mood of joyousness in whatever they do, in your own life and in your life in your family, life at
mm,
work, and that means you conduct yourself in the same way. So when you're
yeah.
totally in balance with yourself, your lifeline increases. So that's
Mm,
for that to happen, your headline must be fair. And when your headline is in balance, your emotional state to make the correct decisions in your relationship with your partner and your marriage line will affect it. Now, when this is
mm,
affected, your heart is your heart of seat of love, the love line of your as an ecosystem. And that love
mhm,
line is totally in balance with yourself, of your total
mm,
emotional balance, whereby you love yourself to give out love. We call the principle of resonance in yourself, right?
mm.
Right? And coming
Yeah.
and how this affects what they call is your money line. So the money line
Mhm,
affects you when you don't waste in life, when you don't waste
yeah.
your time, your money, your food, and the most important thing is that and your energy. So in fact, when you
Mm,
conserve things within yourself, the power of not wasting. There is a line in the spiritual world when you do, when you do not waste, you increase your faith and your spiritual disciplines. So not
mm,
wasting accentuates your spiritual life in relation to affecting the secular component. So a secular component is that what you do as Prenisha in your workplace and these things, and the spiritual
mm,
component is by practicing principles that affects your secular life. So you can't, for example,
mm.
say I want to practice recycling and these things, and when I go into my car, I will throw a piece of paper on the road,
Yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
everything is in harmony. So once in harmony, your soul is in peace and harmony with yourself. So to get
Mm,
into this balanced state, you need to vibrate. It's called the principle of resonance. I did speak it previously. The 3 R's. You establish the correct resonance in yourself, then you develop the correct or what they call the spirit of reaction within yourself, and then alone you'll be able to give out the correct feelings of our conduct. I think this is very
mm.
important.
Yes.
So when you do that, so the headline in palmistry is a line of reflection, right?
Okay.
Right. So you must
Yeah.
reflect first before you react, because when you reflect, you create resonance, and that resonance,
Yeah.
Renisha, you have a special resonance. I have a special resonance. But our resonance
Mm,
connect up to each other when like-minded people on this show, for example,
mm,
connected to other together, and you saw the good comments and some aspects I shared with you during the week, how people
mm,
tune into this vibration, right?
mm.
So for your
Yeah.
lifeline to increase, so we're saying in the world today that our lifeline is increasing because the 80-year-olds are the 60-year-olds are the 40-year-old. So your lifespan is increasing. So for that,
Mm,
as an individual, to increase in balance with yourself, that means in mind, body, soul, to be constantly happy.
mm.
Right? Right? How
Yeah.
do you be happy? To know that somebody else in the world is worse off than you. And your
Yeah.
happiness is your piece of love that you have for yourself and to share the love with somebody else.
Mm.
Right? So
Absolutely.
I think palmistry can be a very real thing of a, if I may say, like a monitoring and evaluation of your journey.
Mm.
Right? It's a very simple thing, but I think that you look at it every 21 days and say, I'm going to assess myself, right? If I'm depressed or I'm not in a happy space, there's something wrong. And then you look at the palmistry will give you a very good insight.
Mm. I love that. Yes. I
Yeah,
love that our bodies, and the way the universe and how God or source power, however you see it, I love that they put clues within us, clues in our date of birth. There's certain clues that we are given. Um, I say clues, but they actually guidance. There's lots of guidance systems within ourselves that help us along the way, but a lot of us aren't aware of them, or we don't know necessarily how to use it to guide us. So just saying it out loud, that I love that God or the universe has given us guidance systems within ourselves, our body, our, numbers, planets, to help us along the way.
Yes,
Yeah, we
and I
don't know
mean,
how to do that.
yeah, I think it's phenomenal what you said. You know, the universe creates this phenomenal piece of engineering of humanity of the body, and is giving us the indicators. You know, for example, that
Mm.
when you're stressed and anxiety and you begin to perspire and sweat, you know, what I'm saying to you, and when you stress, you tend to have a headache and you don't sleep properly. You know, and when
Mm.
you have the wrong foods and it shows up in your skin and shows up in your eyes. You know.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, you know, I think it's wonderful. The indicators, you know, your body talks to you, and but you know, you must identify with these signs and do not lose signs within yourself. The universe has created the signs for you.
Mm. Absolutely. So with numerology, um, how does numbers affect us? Why are numbers so important? Like codes and light codes, and you have all these things that affect us. How does numerology then affect us, and why should we take interest in numerology?
Yeah, and in the commerce and business world, everything is about coding, right?
Yes.
Right. For example, that if you listen to and radio station is Radio 702, and if you listen
Mm,
to or is it 92.7, or you listen to I mean 105.1 on SAFM, and
mm,
87.8 on Radio Lotus, whatever it may be, so it's all coded. So the coding reflects to a frequency, and the frequency links to vibration, right?
mm,
So
yes.
like that. Remember something. Our soul chooses our date of birth, right?
Mm,
Let's make it contextualize it. Which part of our date of birth is the simplest and most profound? So let's say the first part, right? The first part is the date,
okay.
right, of birth,
Mhm.
and then the time of birth, right? Let's take
Mm,
two significant things, and then you got a month, and then you got a year. But
yeah.
let's take the aspect of the time. Let's distinguish the time first, right? So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, you're either born in sunrise, or you're born in sunset, or you're born early in the morning, or you're born late at night, whatever it may be. So all
Mm-hmm.
these kinds of things affects you because the nature of the world is such that each part of the day, if you got from the point of the Western philosophy, we got 24 hours in the day, is broken up into 8 hours. Some parts to sleep, and what you call is the dullest moments, if you want to call it inverted commas, and then some part of it is the working state, whereby we go to work at 8 to for example 8 to 4, for example, right? So the 8 hours is to work, and let's say example, right, and from 4 to 8 is the time of meditation, a time of prayer, whatever it is, and often again from 4 to 8 we slow down ourselves. So all these hours and times affects your emotional state in the period of where you were born, right? Were you
Mm,
born in the prayerful state? Were you born in the state of the so-called state of rest? Were you born at that time, or you born in the time of activity? So that's the
mm,
time effects of the and how that affects your emotional state. So that
yes.
is the one at the time. So in terms of your date of birth, for example, that
Mm-hmm.
if you're born in a linear date, let's say, for example, 1 to 8, right? So
Okay.
that makes it much simpler, right? And now, if you're born on multiple numbers, that means from 10 onwards. So in 1 to 8, so you don't have to add the numbers. But as soon as you're born
Mm-hmm.
in multiple numbers, like let's say the 21st of August, so 2 plus 1 becomes 3. So,
Yes.
right, so 1 to 9, you
Mm-hmm.
fit it linear way by each planet. I'll explain it now, how each number is related to your planet and your emotions, and how when
Ooh.
you're born in multiple numbers, right, from 10 onwards, then how you affected, for example, or 11 onwards is two numbers you're affected to, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
one and one again, or 12 is affected by number one, and you're affected by number two, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's take everybody born on the first of the month, right, or the first of any month, for example, right? So number one is related to the planet of the sun. So the sun,
Mm.
as you know, right, it's sun is about it's about birth, incarnation. It's about photosynthesis, giving light to
Yeah.
the world, vitality, and the sun is about the supreme aspect of the soul and about creation. So
Mm-hmm.
ideally, that everybody wants to get into one, where one is the vitality of life. So,
Mm.
and that in terms of example, if you're born on the 11th of the month, so 1 plus 1 is 2, right? So
Mm-hmm.
again is 1
Mm-hmm.
and 1. But when you divide 2 by itself, it comes back to 1. So technically is that
Mm.
everything must come back to 1, because that's the most power in that, in relation to the number 1 in relation to the sun. So the sun is that planet. But so that's how number 1 is related to the planet of the sun, and in terms of the supreme light. Because without the sun, the world cannot function,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
So let's take another number. For example, what number would you like to take, Pranisha?
Can I just pick randomly? How about number 9? We'll
Yes,
start at
sure.
the yes,
Okay, okay,
at the
okay, okay.
end.
Okay, okay. Number 9 is related to Mars, right?
Mm.
Right. Mars is related to the Spanish with many auspicious occasions, but it's also related with a lot of strength, a lot of aggression and anger, and it's known as a planet of the god of the wars, right? But
Mm.
but it's a very powerful number, because it's a number that's what can I say? It's a number of strength. It's a number that can constantly adaptability and change. So that's the
Mm.
so it's a number that gives you um, what can I tell you? A lot of inner strength, a lot of auspiciousness.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
saying that, if you lose this and misuse this auspiciousness within yourself, right?
Mm.
It has a negative effect on you of an aggression and anger. But if
Mm.
you keep your checks and balance, you know that I've got the gift of being very auspicious, of being very what you call it, embodied a lot of strength and a lot of power within myself. I think we're very
Mm.
advantageous to you and the people around you. So it can be positive and can be very negative. Okay, let's take
Yeah.
the number 2. Okay, I'm going to try and two numbers together, 2 and 7. 2 and 7 related to the moon. So we all know how the moon, and we spoke about it last week, how it affects the mind, how it affects the people's emotions. But
Yeah.
but it's a wonderful analogy of the moon, that says the emotions, the mother, and the instincts, and the moon is full of glitter and shining, but it's
Mm.
something that you deal with, because related to the mother. The mother gives birth to creation. It's related to the power of incarnation, right? And
Mm.
it's a very important part. And the mother is always looking for the children to see their welfare. It's a spirit of hunting. The household must be perfect in the whole ecosystem of the family. So it's a very powerful thing on 2 and 7, right? So it's a
Mm.
very important, but it's related to your mental state as well. Because you're affected by the mind, you can play this important part of serenity or generating the harmonious feeling within yourself. So I think
Mm.
that's a great thing. So let's take the number
Mm.
3, right? The number
Mm.
3 is related to what you call the planet Jupiter, right? And
Mm. Mm.
the planet Jupiter is a very interesting planet, perhaps one of the most fascinating planets that we've got around, in terms of that. So you see, Jupiter is about the teacher, is about the mentor, is about the ambition, the big heart, but it's a planet of giving and sharing, right? And that's a great
Mm.
thing about the people born in with the planet with number 3, and it's a planet of devotion, it's a planet of prayer. So it's a very important part of balancing the world. But
Mhm.
sometimes in Jupiter, there is an element of great honor and ambition, but with wisdom.
Mm.
But in the toughness that comes with it, sometimes that during this period of toughness that they experience, then they sometimes experience a bit of hardship and pessimism. So the Jupiter has both sides of it in terms of balance of nature. right? So I
Mm,
think that one is a fascinating planet, but it's an important planet to understand. It's one of the great planets of people who are born in Jupiter have the spirit of giving and sharing.
mm,
The planet, the number 4, right, is related to the planet or the element called, we know in Sanskrit called the Rahu. Rahu is a planet of, the foreigners. It's a planet of the goal, planet of obsession. So it's a very risky and dangerous situation, but at the same time,
mm,
it's a very giving situation. So I think that one can be very positive about it, but at the same time knowing that it can trigger an obsessiveness because you are very goal orientated, in terms of what you do, right?
mm,
Let's take
mm,
another number. Let's take number 6. Number 6 is a lovely number. Is related to Venus, and Venus, we know that it's about love and romance, and it's about the
mm,
beauty and enthusiasm in life, and
mm,
but it's always there to help, to clear out the darkness, right? And it brings about the purity, it brings about the brightness and the clarity, and the most important thing is associated with fertility and enthusiasm of life. And that's a beautiful thing about Venus. Venus often gives us knowing that creation always will be there.
mm. Yes,
So it's fascinating
yes.
how the planets can be the same. So if you're
Mm,
born on the 27th of the month, so you have to understand that you have to relate 2 and 7 together, which relate to the moon. So if you're born on the 14th, so there's number 1 and 4, so so it's related to the sun. So sometimes you got
mm,
two things. You born on the 23rd, for example. 23rd, number 2 is related to the moon and is related to Jupiter. So you got both qualities. You got qualities on the
mm,
23rd, example, on the moon, you got mental and wellness, and you got that light and emotion. Same time, you got the aspect of Jupiter of sharing and caring, of ambition.
mm.
So
Yes.
it's a fusion of things that takes place in your life's journey,
Mm,
right? But I think the
mm,
most important thing, Pranisha, I think that people need to understand this thing about how these numerology and numbers, how from a planetarian effects, if you understand it in a simple way, to understand that you won't be upset with people in life, and that's why, and a lot in the Eastern philosophy, that when they interview people at work, and let's say they put Pranisha and Dawn to work together, right? They'll
mm,
understand what Dawn date of birth and where's Prenisha date of birth. If they're clashing in terms of the planetary influence, they will not put you in the
mm,
same team to work. They'll put you in
mm,
different teams. So the people in human resources and who's doing studies in human resources who work in these fields, if they understand
mm,
numerology and astrology, they'll be very good in terms of setting up the correct workforce and discipline. So that in
mm,
turn affects people will do called coaching. When they coach personalities, right? And if the educator
mm,
don't consider the science of numerology and astrology, they always come second and say, why cannot get this person in balance? I'm coaching him well and whatever he's doing in a positive space, but he's regressing in his performance. So when
mm,
you go back and understand numerology and the aspect of the planets and how it affects astrology, you'll make better choices and decisions in your personal life, but also as a leader in the world.
mm. Absolutely. Is it accurate to say, Dr. Reddy, say if you're confused about life or you feel like you don't have direction, you're not sure what your purpose is, all of these heavy questions. Is it accurate to say that if you look at your numerology, you look at your planets, you look at your life path number and all of these things, um, will they give you sort of an to life lessons? So, for instance, if your numbers is with Venus number 6, would you then, to me, it's like, okay, then a lot of my life lessons will be around relationships. It will be around how do I share love, give love, how do I receive love? Is that accurate to say that it's
Yes,
a
yes,
part of
yeah,
our
yeah,
life
yeah.
lesson?
I mean, definitely, you see, the human personality is very intricate, right?
Mm,
And there's a thing
mm,
related to what we call your DNA and your genetic engineering. Your
mm,
DNA, for example, is related to some genetic aspect of life, and how you bring in your parental influence into the world from the genes, what we call the ova and the sperm, and the merge together to produce an egg cell structure. So that's what you call the genetic influence that happens. But
mhm,
beyond that, right, there is a intrinsic part of Prenisha, for example, born on a
mhm,
certain date, affected by a certain planetary influence. Definitely,
mm,
when you begin to understand that, you'll make better choices as an individual. The person interviewing you for your next job in the world, for example, right, you're talking about tomorrow you're on a Zoom session about correct financial decision to be made. I think when
mm,
they do that, to be more effective, if they understand the astrology aspect of that individual, they'll guide that person better in making
mm,
better decisions, what we call extrinsic, not on the genetic pathway, but on the
mm,
epigenetic aspect, but which is influenced
mm.
by your date of birth and the planetary influences. So in summary, Prinsha, you'll be more in
Yeah.
balance if you are a financial advisor, or if you're a
Mhm,
psychologist, or if you're a healer. Basically, we all are
mm,
healers. This is what we're doing on the platform, right? And we're
mm,
able to bring about better choices to steer people from what I'm calling a non-conflict zone. And when you
mhm,
realize that somebody at work today threw a lot of tantrums and all that, you realize that on this day, if you trace back at that person and in time, and
mm,
the person date of birth, the background which he comes from, what happened in this birth, what happened in previous birth, and you tune into something called the astral aspect. The astral aspect
mm,
tune into your intuition of how to understand the person. But that's the one. Then when you look at the person to find out, okay, let's say the person's name is, for example, Jane. Jane was born on the 18th of March, and right, she's born, and so 18th of March gives you 1 + 8 is 9, and it's part of person is part of Mars, and we know that Mars can be absolutely also with an auspicious occasion, but sometimes
mm,
there's the strength and aggression and anger. Maybe
mm,
and that Mars effect of the planet affected her on that day which she was born, or and instead
mm,
she didn't make the correct decision. So we're able to
mm,
what you call diffuse conflict by understanding personalities better when we reflect on astrological patterns and the science of numerology. So in
mm.
conflict management, you'll make better decisions, and when you extrapolate the personalities beyond what you see on the present moment,
Yes.
right? So
Um,
it can be a
mm,
great asset in conflict management.
mm.
Yeah, right.
Yes, I didn't think of that in the workspace.
Yes, yes, yeah, yes. And you see,
Mm,
and I said to you in one of the previous shows that the psychologists made in the Freudian theory is only in the present, but we all are recycled souls in the world, right? And
mm,
our recycled world are affected by the planets. And let's say, I mean, Prenisha could have in the past life could have born in Turkey, in the previous life could have born in China, for example, right? And this life is
yeah,
born in Africa. Before for whatever reason. So that's the aspect, but
yeah.
we come into these things with what we call mental aberrations from past lives, but is affected by
Mm,
the planetary influence. Um, I was given another spin to it. Can we transcend some of the uh, challenges in the pathways of palmistry, our lifeline and our mental line,
mm,
emotional line, and in terms of our birth date, affected by the planets? Can we overcome them? As a
mm,
human capacity able to do that? Yes, we are. And how do you do that? Right? Is by rising and raising your vibrational state, right, to higher level of consciousness, right, whereby you transcend yourself, what your seven was below, seven was above. So basically, is that when you raise your vibration state, you expand your consciousness. That means that from a microcosm you become a macrocosm. So you don't allow small things in life to affect you.
mm,
Right? So in terms
mm.
that you're opening up the bigger circle of light within you, and you're creating your own ring fence around you. right? So in that way, you're able to tune into example what we all would love to be part of the sun. The sun is the circle of light. So the greatest power in life is one, and that one person is each individual. The most important thing in Prenisha's life is Prenisha, the one person in life, right? So in life, we all come back to the number one. So we all must be in the ambit of light. So we're all in the ambit.
Absolutely.
Imagine that if we are on this conversation today, we are 108 on this conversation. We are 108 beacons of light. And when we leave this conversation tonight, we're sending this light to 108 beacons of light into the world. Right? So we become those angels of light in the world. Right? So that's how, so we all should aspire to become one with ourselves, one with the planet sun. The most powerful. This one, the morning, say you do your morning prayer, and you raise yourself to the sun, and you raise the water to the sun, and when you do your yogic exercises, it must be north facing. The house must be north facing. Everything points to the sun. So the sun is the most powerful number one, and obviously number four is also related to the sun. Right? So I think that we can use these things of understanding ourselves, understanding our colleagues, and how can we in a non-conflict space, and understanding the careers that we sometimes we don't realize that. Oh, I mean, why did I become an engineer? When you trace back your life pathway and understanding the planetary influence yourself and why you made those decisions. And so in career guidance, right? So sometimes we should understand the birth date and the planet influences you, and we can make career choices and guiding people. And you see, that's another facet of the science of numerology and astrology in career guidance.
Yes. I was
Right?
thinking, not only for colleagues, I think even within your family, your home, it's nice to understand people's numerology and astrology, because then a lot of the times, and I always say this to clients and whoever comes through, we are placed with our family because most of our life lessons are learnt with family, because we have this thing that, you know, blood is thicker than water, and we take a lot of our family and we don't really say things, or we get triggered and we still go back to our family because we want to have the strong bond. So I feel like a lot of our life lessons come through with family because we sort of forced together and we stuck together. um, but I think it's very interesting that we can still use astrology and numerology to understand our family members and how we interact with each other and how we show love, how we receive love, how we deal with anger, how do we deal with triggers, how do we communicate, things like that. So I think we can also use it in our family, in our surroundings, in everyday relationships.
Yes, I think it's very important to start off with the family. I think that,
Yeah.
see, when you make very balanced decisions in a family life, so what we call decisions of truth and right conduct, right? You only could do that if you are totally in a balanced space, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and so, for example, that, I said this previously, the way you communicate, with yourself and your families is very critical. But at the same time is that you should not condemn wrongdoings in families, right? Like,
Yeah.
for example, if your brother or sister made a wrong decision, and we should say that we are family, let's discuss it. And you made the wrong decision today. Let's understand why you made the wrong decision today, right?
Yeah.
What we call and M&E. M&E is monitoring and evaluation, right? To say that I'm Prenisha, I also made some wrong things in life, and my
Yeah.
sister's name is Dawn. I said, Dawn, I think that you said something today which offended me, but I'd like to discuss it as a family and let's resolve it, right? Dawn, you are born, for example, on the 3rd of May, and on the number 3 says that you're influenced by the planet Jupiter, and these are the qualities of Jupiter. So I'm not sure that whether you were affected by the planet Jupiter. I want to understand, why did you make this incorrect decision? which affected you, but
Mm.
affected our family reputation, which I don't think is a good thing, right? So when you
Yes.
dialogue it like that, so you give hope to her to correct herself. So the biggest thing is
Mm.
that in the world today is recognizing your errors is the beginning of wisdom. So when
Yeah.
you recognize your errors, and we discuss as a family to say that, my sister Dawn, I think you made this mistake today, but
Mm.
when in reflection, I'm into the science of astrology and numerology, and you're born on the third, but it's affected by the planet Jupiter, and
Mm.
Jupiter helps people, are teachers and are priests and devotion, but it's
Mhm.
also associated with luck and expansion. Maybe something happened during your journey that you didn't react correctly, and or your luck ran out, but let's discuss to correct it. I think if you open the dialogue and resolve the issues beyond the physical, and you'll give the
Mm.
people hope, most importantly you'll have cohesion.
Yeah.
And that's what family, they say, the family that prays together stays together, the family that
Mm.
communicate together love each other. And communication
Mm.
is one of the biggest breakdown in any relationship today, whether
Yeah.
between partners in life, with husband and wife, whether with
Mm.
children, whether, for example, and in a workplace, whether between if the teacher at school loses contact with the class, it means that the vibration frequency was not there, right? So
Mm.
the teacher needs to understand that he's dealing with so many children who were born on different days, right? And
Mhm.
they understand this, and they're fixed by different planets. So the teacher's got the biggest task of
Mm.
30 children in the class with 30 different
Yeah.
emotions, right?
Yeah.
So this is why not everybody can be a teacher, right?
Mm.
Teachers are special souls and grace because they dispel the theory of ignorance in the child. So what we
Yeah.
want everybody to get a spirit of light and spirit of learning, right?
Mm.
And
Mm.
that is the reason why we would like everybody to be in the spirit of mental wellness with the effect of the moon, and have that intelligence, that of the love, and understanding like a mother, or the effect of the moon. So
Mm.
I think it's fascinating how we can use this as tools to help us in our family life. I think, Prenisha, is something very important early on. I think we should not
Mhm.
lose sight of that. How families become islands of peace in the world, and how
Yeah.
we activate that peace. And each family, for example, that if a family is living example in Alberton, if we get 40
Mhm.
families in Alberton with 40 molecules of peace, and you extrapolate that into an atomic number, how powerful is that?
Mhm.
If we get 100 people
Mm.
on the show tonight with 100
Yeah.
100 beacons of peace, it's just fantastic,
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
and that's about what we want, the love of mankind, what you call love all and serve all. And we're here on the
Yeah.
show today because we love each other, right? We love to share information. Want to make it. I'm sure that we aim to make this show practical for people to take what they can apply in their life tomorrow, or,
Yeah.
or immediately,
Yes.
right? So it's
Indeed.
important to realize that before people get married in the world, right? We
Mm.
don't want marriages to break down. We want marriages to
Yeah.
be happy. We want marriage to foster children to be happy in the world, right? Right?
Mm.
But before they get married, it's important, husband and wife, to discuss this. If they need help, to go to a person to help with astrology, with numerology, they should do that,
Mm.
right? And they should
Mm.
dialogue this and say that, if the husband is born on the 9th of January, is influenced by Mars, and the wife is born on the 4th of June, or the 3rd of June by Jupiter. How does Mars and Jupiter is affected?
Mm.
Right? So for example,
Yeah.
in marriage counseling, or in counseling before marriage, I think it's important to understand this. We could help marriages, help partnerships to have a longer relationship, and also that is to get people in the correct relationships before they get
Yeah.
married, because we know that, for
Mm.
example, that Mars and can be in wars, and also can be auspicious and strength, and for example that and with the effect of Saturn, and can be the softness, can be the wisdom and status. So a lot of can be at conflict with each other. So how do we resolve the conflict? By the planetary influences before we tie the knot and we
Mm.
sign the marriage register.
Yes. Just something that came through when I was thinking about palmistry and numerology and things like that. And you also touched on it. You said, before we come here and incarnate on Earth, we choose the date. So obviously we'll choose our numerology and the planets and stuff like that. Um, so what comes through is a lot of stuff is sort of planned out, or we'll say it's destiny, but we also have free will as humans. So how does palmistry, numerology, and astrology, where things are mapped out or things are planned or things have been decided, how does that fit into having free will? How do those two coincide? Destiny and free will.
Yeah, I mean, destiny in life is that, it's already mapped out into the world, to say that, I'm born on the 1st of January 1940, and I'm leaving this world in 2050, for example, right? I mean, sometimes destiny is in that pathway to know that I'm going to be living for 108 years
Yeah.
in the world. I mean that is the destiny, which we're not in control of, that because we don't know that when we're entering the world and when we're leaving the world. But sometimes
Yes.
by intuition, when I said to
Mm,
you earlier on this show and previous shows, that when you increase your vibrational state, you tune into the universal force, you actually will know that this is my time to leave this world, and I'm going to prepare myself accordingly, right? But when you
mm,
fulfilled your life in this world, how do you know? When you're totally at peace yourself, you've loved all and served all, and you became a higher realized soul, and to know
mm,
that I did my best to fulfill my duty. And where there's
mm,
duty, there's a reason in this world.
mm.
And where there's reason, there's a purpose to live in the world. So that is
Yes.
relation to your destiny, which is perhaps in an unknown. It's called the principle of Heisenberg theory of uncertainty. And that is your destiny in life, right? So, in
Mm,
the spiritual world, we know that, it's an uncertainty principle. From the point of view of physics, it's a Heisenberg principle of uncertainty. So when we talk about free will, right? And in terms or let's say no will, for example, right? So the free
mm,
will is that when you, as Prenisha, take charge of yourself, right, to say that I think that I'm going to do this, and you just become impulsive and reactive. That means you think that everything that you want to take charge by yourself, and you realize there's no higher force. So the
mm,
universe and the Lord above allows Pranisha to do whatever she feels like. But it's a game of chess. In the game of chess, there's only one will, right? You do not move the chess bead until that there's an impulse from the power of intuition which relates to an astral beyond the physical. So you wait
mm,
for a signal from the higher force to know what to do. So that becomes
mm,
one will with the creator. But when you
mm,
don't wait for that sign, and you just
mm,
react in the world, that becomes your free will. But in the higher echelons of consciousness, there's only one will, the will of God. If you want to play the will of God, to say that I'm going to move this chess beat when I get an impulse, no matter when it takes place, but I'll do it in God's time, right? That needs
mm,
three things: patience, perseverance. But the beauty of the two things, the purity of the Lord of the universe filters through you, and you'll make the correct decisions in total tranquility, right?
mm,
So when you take free will, that means you are confident that you don't need the help of the universe. It means your ego takes over, your impulse takes over. Unfortunately, is that when your ego takes over, and it becomes I, and mine. But you realize in this world we're a collective consciousness, and there's no I. We all are I, and you are we. There's only we in this world. It is a collectivity. So free will is about individuality. And we know that from experience in life and from scripture, individuality is a nuisance, right?
mm,
So So when you realize that, as you said, we as a family and connecting up as a family, collectively, we are strong because we're unity, though each family, is different, right? But There's a unifying spirit of oneness based on love, reverence, respect, humility, and the most important thing is that the care and we share for each other.
Hmm. Do you then believe that we can change our destiny? For example, let's say I'm born on a certain day and related to a certain planet that says that I'm best suited to, let's say, be a teacher. But deep down, I really just want to be a musician or a hippie. um, and everything is saying I've got to do a teacher, I've got to, I have all the gifts, I have all the abilities, but I just don't find being teaching fun, and I want to be a musician. Will I be able to use my numerology and my astrology and everything to shift to become a musician? Or are the gods just like, no, this is your path, you have abilities, you need to be a teacher?
Fascinating question. Fascinating. I love that. I love your question, right? Right. It's fantastic that basically is that you're challenging our destiny. That's what you're saying, right? Right. Okay.
Yes,
Let's
yeah.
understand that pathway, right? Now let's understand
Mhm.
palmistry in relation to that. Now I
Okay.
spoke about our lifeline in the world. Can the lifeline
Yeah.
be extended or can be shortened? Yes. You can
Yes.
shorten your life by getting negative in life, by almost throwing in the towel to say, I've had enough of the
Mm.
life and now I've given up. And when you
Yeah.
do that, you begin to breathe faster in the world, like the rabbits and the
Mm.
dog, right? And your vibration changes. That means your frequency of your biophysics and your biochemistry all is altered. Your heart rate changes. You breathe faster in the world, and you almost bring your life to an end.
Mm.
Right, so that's what you can by do that, but is by reacting negatively to your own destiny. But
Mm.
if you're totally in peace with yourself, in harmony, right, whereby you, for example, instead of breathing, let's say for example 18 breaths per second, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
breathe 9 breaths per second. That
Mm-hmm.
means you're slowing down the number of breaths. So when you do that, you're breathing slower and slower. So technically, you're increasing your number of breaths in this lifespan by breathing less. And in this second, you're breathing less. That means you are vibrating at a lower biophysical structure and state. So you actually can
Mm.
extrapolate your life. But for that to happen, you tune into the universal consciousness of the Lord of the universe to say that I want to extend my life in this universe for what? But has to be unselfish, number one, has to be love for yourself to serve the being of the universe around me. It's about giving and serving to the world and to allow the Lord to tune into you. That means it's like a tuning fork. You know, with a tuning fork in physics, you tune the
Mm.
tuning fork. So you tune into the Lord of the universe, vibratory state. And when you ask the Lord for a higher purpose of life, and there's no doubt the Lord always responds to you,
Yeah.
right? And so there's no doubt about it that it's about a frequency change and it's about a higher level of consciousness. You can no doubt do that.
Mm.
Right? So, but that is your individual relationship with the Lord on a one-on-one basis. So it's not one size fits all. So it
Yeah.
determines on a few things: your past life, your past attributes, your past accolades in life. So there's a number of factors, and some of the
Mm.
factors are unknown, but we have the power to do it by indicating by number of breaths per second we do it. So the less you breathe in a shorter period of time, the higher the chances of survival in the life. That means your organs of function be more in balance.
Mm. Yes. Okay, that makes sense. It
Sorry, yeah, it's not in. It's related to physics and science. Sorry about that.
no, no. That was perfect answer.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I see there's a question there.
yes. How do we get to the balance, high purpose and material life?
Fantastic question. But no, so the ways to get into balance, and the most important thing, right? Your thought, word, and deed, unity, purity, and harmony must be all in one plane. So your
Mm,
thought processes. That means what you think, what you say, and what you do. It must be totally in balance, right? So
mm,
then you must be in the spirit of humility, reverence, and respect for yourself. It's about loving yourself and loving all and serving all. So I think that those
mm,
are the fundamentals premise in which you're doing. So whatever you do in life, you're doing it for a higher purpose. That means you're here to make a difference to yourself, to make a difference to the world, right? I'm
mm,
here in my small little way to help to solve the violence in the country, to bring about this peace in this country by developing a programs of selflessness, of poverty, to creating more jobs, doing my best at work, being that beacon of light to the world. And in terms of
mm,
the material life, the material, what we call the secular and spiritual life is related to one and all. So to order to have a balance in your spiritual life, in your material life, your spiritual life has to be in balance. See,
mm,
the two aspects of material life is related to a scientific aspect of living, and then there's a spiritual life related to higher consciousness. So there's no difference between spirituality and material. For example, that what you do in the mosque, in the temple, in the church, in the Buddhist monastery, the same kind of vibration prayer you extrapolate in the real life, right? So to balance in the material world is called the Ceiling Desires program. I said it early on. You mustn't waste money, energy, food, and time, right?
mm,
Right. For
mm,
example, that um, it's about not wasting in the life. And for example, that how much of money do we need? How big a house we need? How many cars we? When you could sleep on one bed, when you drive one car at a time, when you could have one roof about it. So it's about getting together in life. Realize that there's more than acquisitions and acquiring material. What you call the life of consumerism, right? So we
mm,
have to be careful to get either caught up. It's all Western American philosophy of becoming a consumerist in the world. So
mm,
contentment is very important. And contentment is related to a balance of your inner self. To realize that I've been in this world 8.4 million times. I've had it many more times. I've had many cars, many houses, many things. But now I want to high purpose to life. The wealth I'm getting in this wealth, there's only so much of money I can use. The balance of the wealth, I'm going to use it for selfless service, to build communities, to build bridges, and to help to solve poverty in the world.
mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Right?
think also, I think also, Dr. Reddy, when you do these things, you sort of take away the stress element of acquiring money, finding money. And because of, law of attraction, law of cause and effect, and all the 12 universal laws, what you put out, you get back, and all of those things. If you are constantly stressed about material life and you're putting that out, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get more stress. So by doing things that, sort of benefits others or sort of takes your mind off of the stress and where am I going to get money and how am I going to pay bills, and you sort of change that vibration within yourself from stress to, okay, like you were saying, contentment, um, and being grateful and stuff like that, even for the smallest things. And it's really hard being grateful when you have bills to pay, but that's how energy and frequency works. Fortunately and unfortunately, I think when you're in frustration, it's unfortunately, but fortunately, if you feel good within yourself and good when you think about money or material things, and that you can share it with other people, that's when things start coming in, because your vibration is now completely changed. It's gone from stress and anxiety and bills and all of that to, how can I help? How can I share? Because I've got so much now, I can share to other people. It just flips the frequency. I hope I'm making sense here.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely, definitely. So basically, what you believe is that you're building your model of resilience within yourself, right?
Yeah,
And to know
yeah,
that resilience spirals around yourself, and to know that the universe will give me whatever I need. You be
yeah,
confident with yourself, and in your vibrational prayer or your atheist, it doesn't matter. It's about cause and effect of life, right? And to know that you will never be short of it. It's a law of abundance, right? You
Yeah.
always will have things together. You will never be shortage of things. You'll never have poverty, right? But if we, it's always the sayings that, you must lead by example, right? And that's
Mm.
the reason why the head of the company, the head of the household, the head of the country, whether it's a president, whether it's the CEO of the company, must lead by example. And in South Africa, we have something called the corporate social responsibility programs, right? And
Mm.
the corporate social investment programs in each company. So if each company does this consistently, sometimes they don't have to look outside of the workplace, outside of the mosque or the temple. The people within the congregation or within the workplace, right, are facing challenges. So we have to be very cognizant of the fact is that we have to be very vigilant to serve people closest to us as well as people further away from us,
Mm. Mm.
right? And I
Mm.
think this aspect of destiny, it lies within ourselves. The power lies within ourselves. The power doesn't lie outside of us. I said this at one of our other webinars. If you have a fracture of your hand, and where do you heal from? Not outside.
Mm.
Heal from within yourself, your cell, your
Yes.
tissue, your structure, your nerve ending, the reconfiguration of the artery and vein. That's how powerful you are,
Mm.
right? I
Mm.
said this. I'm not sure whether I said this previously. 12,000 square miles of blood passes through every second as you and
Mm.
I speak, and that's how
Yeah.
powerful human beings are. Faster than any CPU,
Mm.
right?
That is
Right?
so true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's about believe in yourself to know
Yeah.
that you're here for a higher purpose in this world. Human beings
Mm.
and human entities are the most powerful creation of the Lord of the universe, right?
Mm.
And we
Mm.
are the change mechanics, and we're the ones can make the difference. It's not politicians, it's not the government, it's society, right? And there's a saying that if government doesn't make a change, society needs to rise together to make a change. And today, it's a wonderful day. It's International Women's Day. It's the most powerful. We know that woman is the power of creation. Woman is the power of love. The woman is the power of giving. And wasn't for women, we wouldn't have. You and I wouldn't be talking here today. Our mothers have given
Absolutely.
birth to us. So today we should reverence and respect to women and to the mothers, that to know that I always say this to my patients. You know what? The mother is your healer. The mother is your cook. The mother is your counselor. The mother is your guide. The mother is everything to you. If you listen to your mother, if you make your mother smile, you make your mother happy, you'll have 1,000 smiles to give to the world. Said, if you make your
Mm.
mother cry, you will cry 1,000 times.
Mm.
So always on the day to day or Women's Day, I give accolades and I give my love to each and every woman to know that you have the power to change this world and you have the power to
Mm.
change our country. I believe all the women on this show and all come together to say that we want to make a difference to our to people closest to us, to our spouses, to our relationships, to our children. Collectively, when we finish the
Mm.
show today, I want to get my family together. I know that I, as a woman, can lead my family to make a difference to this world and heal our country.
Mm.
Our country needs healing. The
Mm.
world needs healing.
Yes, so true. And also, Dr. Reddy, when you wished me, I said to you too, because even men also have, the feminine aspect, the receiving, and I think even men, although yes, it is for women, but I also believe that men also need to take the time to worship that aspect of themselves, the feminine aspect, being able to receive, being able to heal as well, be able to create. I think men also forget that they have those abilities too. So I hope you didn't find that weird that I wished you too. But
No,
I think it's
no,
also important.
no,
Yeah.
no. I love what you said, and I reciprocated. There's a saying in the scripture in the world, right? Right. There's only one man, and all of us are women in the world, and only the
Mm.
Lord of the universe, the great Lord above, he has a masculine figure. So you correctly pointed out, each one of creation, man or woman, and we have a female connotation to our, we have a power of love, the power of devotion, the power of prayer, the power of giving. There's no doubt
Okay.
about it, you know.
Yeah. Do we have any more questions for Dr. Reddy on the topic on Facebook as well, or on TikTok? If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section. What are we talking about next week, Dr. Reddy? I know we had feedback from somebody that wanted to talk more about health.
Yeah, I think that, you know, there's something, you know, it's a very important topic, you know, which people have asked me to about. It's about, you know, how does food and inflammation affect the body? Right?
Hmm.
And you know,
Yes,
I
please
think it's
chip in.
important to understand that. I think one of the most underestimated things about inflammation in the body, of body pains and skin and you know,
Mm.
joints and whatever it is. But I just like to highlight that I think it's a very topical topic at the moment in medical sciences, and how inflammatory foods affects health.
Yes. Okay. So that can be next week's topic if that's okay with you, Dr. Reddy.
Yeah, fine, fine. And you just discuss it with dialogue with the audience, and get them to get some feedback, and you know, I mean, what they would like to talk about. But I just thought
Yeah.
that that was one of the topics. I thought that, you know, talking to people during the week and asking me questions, and you know, and I felt that that's something that we need to reflect on.
Yes. Thank you so much, everybody. Yes, please give us feedback. Please message us. You can message me. You can message Dr. Reddy. And let us know what you like about our talks, what you maybe dislike, and what topics you would like to cover. I think also, Dr. Reddy, if we could talk about death. I know that's pretty heavy topic, but I feel like we need to talk about death and how to cope and how to grieve and things like that. If you're also open to that topic.
Yeah. Excellent, definitely, and we could schedule that. I think that's in a very what am I tell you, and a very important topic, and
Mm.
how to prepare ourselves, you know,
Yeah.
and yeah, because it's very important that if you grieve excessively, you interfere with the journey of the soul, you know,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
think that how to let go, and
Yeah.
how to allow the soul to depart, and how to be happy for the soul to depart, right?
Mm.
It's a
Mm.
strange thing to say, to be sad and happy at the same time, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And it's a strange thing that when the baby comes to the world, the baby cries, and so basically, when the baby cries, we know that everybody says we know the baby is well.
Yes. So
Right,
true.
right, you know, and when
Mm.
when the soul departs, we still, and we cry as well, you know.
Mm.
Yeah, you know,
Mm.
so I think that it's a wonderful journey. I will share some thoughts about how people close to me prepared themselves to depart by God's
Mm.
grace. And that, I mean, seeing experiences by people close to me, and shared the experiences before they left the world, and how
Mm.
they called me up to say, this is where I'm going, you know, and this is where I prepared myself for my journey,
Mm.
right?
Wow, that's
And
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and to know that, for example, that the people that leave you only leave you in a physical form. And for
Yeah.
example, that those of us who lost our mothers, to know that the mother never really leaves you, or the people closest to you in ancestry, they never leave, but
Yeah.
we don't know where they are in this journey, in this somewhere above, but there's somewhere in this journey. But I think this death is an important topic to prepare for it, to get families to understand death is not a bad thing in the world, right? And
Yeah.
it's part of the
Yeah.
journey of life. It's about change of clothes, change of the body. You know,
Mm.
I think that
Yes.
we have to engage with that, to look at the lighter side of it. And I'll share
Yeah.
experience to know that people close to me helped me to understand this well, because I was exposed to them, and
Yeah.
how they came back in my dream and told me and explained to me that where they are in the journey,
Mm.
you know.
Oh,
As
that's
I had the
it's
experience,
gonna be a really good topic that I think that's gonna be exciting.
yeah,
Mm, no
yeah. No,
scary.
I
Yeah.
think one of the topics people either like or dislike, but I think that these are the realities of life, and you know, we
Yeah.
have to prepare ourselves. As we prepare ourselves for example, children being born, we prepare ourselves for
Mhm.
education, for school, for our careers, for work, and I think this is a part of life's journey,
Mm.
you know.
Mm.
And I think that people in the world in terms of the coaching space, and in terms
Mm,
of people who do corporate work and coaching people, and often do not talk about these things, and
yeah.
realize that when somebody's dad or mom is ill and they may be passing on, and and people don't identify this in the corporate space or work, and don't realize why the person is not performing well. So if they understood this, let's say for example, the engineer at work, and that is going through the tough time, they will help him to
Mm,
cope by intervening with the correct counseling and guidance.
mm. That is so true.
Yeah, but
Absolutely.
but Pranisha, I leave it to you. Whichever topic you're going to talk next week, either on death or inflammatory foods, and you pray to the universe and let the universe inspire you.
Okay. Thank you. I will do that. Thank you so much, Dr. Reddy, for joining. Even on Facebook, we've got some good comments. They said, "Thank you, Doc. Very interesting," from Vanessa. Thank you, everybody, for the feedback. If you have further feedback, please message me or Dr. Reddy. If you've missed the session and you've just joined us, I will post this on my Facebook page, Dragon Flame Healing. And Dr. Reddy also has a YouTube channel. You can follow him, and this session will be posted up on there. If you can, please follow Dr. Reddy on TikTok so we can get him to over 1,000 follows so that we can actually see him when he's talking. Um, and yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the feedback. We appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for joining, Dr. Reddy.
Thank you very much, Pranisha, and thank to the audience, and give every little female there, and the power of love, and the power to share, and the power to make a difference. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.